All right, hold your horses. Twist my arm, why don't you? I'll review Fallout Season 2. I wasn't planning on it because I'm so tardy to the party with it. I only finished Season 2 like 3 days ago or something like that. And the conversation's been there, done that, and now that the dust is settled, I guess I'll give you my thoughts on it because people keep asking. I thought it was alright. I think it's much weaker than Season 1. There were quite a few things about it I found disappointing and just a step backwards compared to where they were last season. And that's not to say Season 1 was perfect or anything, but it was very solid. I really did enjoy it. I went in expecting like poop and maybe even a little shit, but I actually got something that was entertaining. Season 2, though, while I didn't get any, fecal matter or anything, it is just not as strong. There were still things I liked about it, but overall, as a complete package, it just left a lot to be desired. I guess before diving into complaints, I'll at least give you like the things I really liked about the season. I think they nailed the look of New Vegas. I really think they crushed it. Like, they did a great job in Season 1 with sets and costume and everything. Like, I do think they capture the spirit of the games really well. In Season 2, it's no different. I think they absolutely knock it out of the park with the way New Vegas looks. I think they crush it with the characters. Deathclaws, I thought, looked great. Like, well, outside of one scene where it got a little janky, but like, for the most part, I really think they nail the aesthetic of New Vegas, and I do think they capture the spirit of it as well for the most part. The action, again, shines. I think they do a really good job of bringing the over-the-top gore from the game to the show and keeping like the almost silliness of some of the, blowing people's limbs off and shit intact and making it feel like it fits in the show. I do really like the way they handle action. I think they've continued to do a good job with Season 2 in that regard. I think the action slaps. Though there are quite a few things. It's not quite how I remember it from the game. Granted, it's been many years since I played the game, but it doesn't follow what I thought it would from the established lore of New Vegas. But what they put here still works in the context of the show, so I can excuse it to a certain degree. There were some things I really didn't like about some of the changes they made, but overall, I thought it was fine in the context they built it in for this series. That being said, I've got to make a mention, and I know this is supposed to be like, the thumbs up moment, the thumbs up section here, but I have to make a mention that what they did with the factions here, I think, was a big old blunder. I don't really like the changes they made to the factions at all. I guess we can get into that more in a minute if I want to dive deeper into spoilers, but if you played New Vegas, you're better off just neuralizing yourself and forgetting everything that happened in there, especially in regards to factions, because the show takes pretty much none of it. But like I said, what they do and like how they change it fits in the context of this show, but even still, I couldn't help but be disappointed, specifically about some of the decisions they made with the factions. I also think that the best part of Season 2 was the flashbacks. I think that's where the writing's the best, because outside of the flashbacks, I think that's when it really stumbles. The worst part about Season 2 is the writing. It's what really holds it back, and I think that's where they took many steps in the wrong direction when it comes to the Fallout television series here. It honestly felt like there were just moments where the writers just said, fuck it. Like, in the writing room, someone was just like, guys, we're thinking too hard. Just run it as is, and we'll just, fingers crossed, hope no one really stops to digest it. Because there are some nonsensical shit that goes on here. Best example, spoiler alert, the Deathclaws in New Vegas. New Vegas is not the way it was in the game. I do think it looks very similar, and I think they capture this, like, the aesthetic of it, and I think it looks really cool, but they do make a crucial change, which is now it's infested with Deathclaw. And people live just outside of this barricade. And there are a bunch of Deathclaws in there, and at the end of the season, Maximus fights the Deathclaws in there. And he starts beating some of them, but there's a lot. And then at one point he gets tail whipped and sent through the barricade. Very easily. Like, the Deathclaw could have broken through this. It is literally like one piece of sheet metal. And they launch Maximus through it like a fucking missile. And now all of a sudden the Deathclaws start pouring out into the area where people live. Why the fuck are people living there with all those Deathclaws on the other side of a very flimsy, unreliable barricade? And why are the Deathclaw not going out there and eating them at any point? There is a plentiful food source on the other side of a very tiny barricade they could easily break out, and yet they just never do. I guess maybe the idea is the Deathclaws are too stupid to do that? I don't know. It just felt really weird. And like I tried to cope initially like, oh, maybe it's just because the power armor was so heavy that it busted through this near impenetrable barricade. But then the question naturally arose in my noodle, well, if the power armor is so heavy that it can do that, then the Deathclaw must be like 10x that strength in order to ragdoll the power armor like that. Meaning, if they just hit their tail against that barricade, it would have fucking disintegrated it. So, like, there's no way of spinning it where the Deathclaw couldn't have been going through that barricade anytime they wanted to. They just, I guess, decided they never wanted the food on the other side. And I just really don't get why people would choose to live there knowing the Deathclaw are there. Just very odd. Very, very weird choice there. And there's a couple other moments like that. For example, like, there's a scene where the ghoul gets punched and impaled on a big spiky pole in the middle of town, and he is there for like an entire day, and the town just goes on around him. He's asking for help, no one helps, which I think fits perfectly in line in the Fallout universe, but also, nobody steals from him. Nobody goes over and kills him or anything. No one steals anything from him. No one messes with him. I thought the implication was going to be when he was stuck on that pole and starting to, go feral, was that people were going to go just start stealing from him, then he was really going to be fucked. But that never happened. They just leave him alone and ignore him. Which, ignoring the cries for help is one thing, that makes sense. But you're telling me no one there in this world, this town of people that do anything to survive and scavenge supplies, you're telling me they wouldn't go just take the easy supplies from this ghoul's bag who is completely stuck on this pole? Like, come on. No, don't, like, be serious. There's just some moments like that where it just... And another one, sorry I keep going down these, but the more I think about it, the more, like, ridiculous it is. Norm, Lucy's brother, Norm, who I think has another interesting side plot that goes on throughout here, which gives you a lot more insight into, like, actual employees of Vault-Tec who have now been thawed out. He is now in a position where they've turned on him, it's mutiny, and he's about to get killed, but then rad roaches come through and start killing all of the vault dwellers that were about to kill him. And how does Norm survive? He hides under a table that is literally like a picnic table. It is just open on all four sides. And the rad roaches go right by him, kill all of the vault dwellers, eat them for a while, and then just leave. Presumably going right by Norm, who is just exposed in the open there under that table. Why? He didn't have like the cloak of invisibility or anything. The rad roaches had already been spotted like on the ground and everything. They would have seen Norm. Why didn't they kill him? And also, they were feasting upon and killing all of the vault dwellers for quite a while, and yet one of them survived. Conveniently, the one Vault-Tec employee that Norm had befriended. It's just very, like, the plot armor they give characters in Season 2 is, like, just very peculiar because they don't even bother trying to give you a logical explanation for how they could have possibly survived. And oftentimes just felt kind of flat. I'll be getting into some spoilers here, but since the show is still pretty new, I won't get into, like, the biggest spoilers. But one thing this season did is they really seemed to want to do more gags. Like, that's the impression I got. Now, Season 1, of course, still had, like, comedy and stuff in there. It's fucking Fallout. Of course that's going to be there. And I thought it did a pretty decent job capturing that spirit in Season 1. In Season 2, I think overall they do a good job of capturing the spirit of the Fallout world. But when it comes to its characters and some of, like, the jokes they tried to play off, I thought they really fucking fumbled and fell flat on their face. Like, the entire side plot of, like, the inbreeding support group, I thought offered nothing and was just like a headache every time they were given screen time, and they got way more screen time than I think they ever should have for the role that it played in the show. So, like, incest jokes were in Season 1, and they were kind of like, haha, that's wacky. But in Season 2, they go hog wild with incest jokes. They even, like, attach a whole hemorrhoid onto the overall narrative ass, where Reg now has an inbreeding support group, which is supposed to help, vault dwellers overcome the trauma of the circumstances around their birth being the product of incest and inbreeding, but he offers snacks, and the vault dwellers don't actually care about any of that incest shit. They just care about the snacks. They want to snack down, and then it becomes a big snack club, which then becomes a problem because they're running low on water. So Overseer Betty is now losing control of her vault. She's being pushed to the edge because Reg refuses to concede here. He refuses to just go belly up and give, the snacks back. He even makes a point saying, you can take away the inbreeding support group, but you can't take away the snack budget, and then grabs a handful of Jell-O and eats it. And this goes on for so long. Like, I feel like there were so many scenes of this fucking snack club, and it's just, like, it didn't make me laugh. It was just like, okay, come on, let's get back to, like, the interesting stuff, please. Why are we spending so much time here? The whole idea is it's supposed to show that Betty is losing control of her vault. And I think they could have done that without giving so much screen time to something so fucking insignificant and annoying. And I just think that's the most egregious example. There's other moments where the show does similar things where it like lands on a gag and then just like beats the shit out of it. But anyway, I think like one of the worst writing sins that season 2 makes is the inconsistency around some of its characters. At the end of season 1, we saw the Ghoul take on the Brotherhood of Steel in their power armor without fear, without hesitation. He was just a force of nature fucking clapping them. In season 2, he gets beaten by a rad scorpion. He gets absolutely fucking slapped around, steamrolled by a rad scorpion, which leaves him incapacitated for a long period of time. Like, I'm very confused on like the power scaling. Like, he's sometimes, an absolute menace, unstoppable, and then other times he's just coughing baby and Rad Scorpion comes through and bullies him. It was just kind of frustrating. Like, he is always either extremely powerful when the plot demands it, or inexplicably weak when the plot needs him to be, like, sidelined for a little while on the bench. And Lucy, I really like Lucy as a character. I think she is the perfect character for a Fallout show, where she is, like, extremely, ingrained in her morals. She still says fudge instead of fuck, and she really wants to see the best in the people around her. So like in the Rad Scorpion case, the reason that happened is because she took them off course to try and help someone that was crying out for assistance, and it ends with them getting ganked by the Rad Scorpion. And the Ghoul was like, we should just kill them, you shouldn't do this. And then once he goes down, once he, gets the wind taken out of his sails because he's all fucked up from the Rad Scorpion, he then takes the survivor back to where she came, which happens to get her involved with the Legion, which ends with her on a cross dying. And then the Ghoul has to save her. And even after that, she still stands by her morals. I think it's a really cool character trait to see explored in a universe like Fallout, where everyone is in some way a bad guy because they have to be to survive the wasteland. There's no one that's like morally pure or anything, and Lucy's not either, but she tries to be, unlike most people in the show. And I think that's very cool, but because of that, a lot of how Lucy survives is based off of pure fucking luck. So like with the Legion, she survives because the Ghoul came back and rescued her because he still needed her as a bargaining chip. And there are just so many instances of her surviving solely because of luck. Like, even at the end of the series, I won't spoil what was going to happen there, but with her father, there was something that was about to happen. Lucy was about to lose, but again, the Ghoul saves her. There are just so many times where she is just saved by sheer dumb luck. Which I think is just a shame because the show has established that she can hold her own. She can do what it takes to survive. And it's not to say that she never does in season 2. She does have a couple of badass moments. But for the most part, a lot of how she gets to where she ends up is just because roll the dice. She got lucky. And I don't know. It just felt kind of like underwhelming after like the third or fourth fucking time that happened this season. Now, that being said, she is not the only character that tries to be a good person. Maximus also does as well. But we can see him making a lot more morally gray decisions, and there's even like a whole swing of things where it seems like he's going in the wrong direction and is no longer that interested in being a good person, and, kind of snaps back into it. But it is nice to see a character like Lucy who's all about, trying to be a good person, and Maximus who wants to be a good person but is also okay just kind of really teetering on the edge. I really do like both of these characters, and I just wish season 2 did more with fleshing them out and evolving them. Maximus, I do think they did a good job with, though, for the season. I enjoyed his plot line quite a bit with the Brotherhood. And it is interesting to see him, start turning heel. And like, he's now doing some bad shit that you wouldn't really expect someone that's wanting to be a good person would indulge in. And even someone close to him is talking about that too. Like, we used to make fun of the Codex, and now here you are quoting it. And he's like, well, maybe it's not so bad after the things I've seen. I think that's a very interesting concept to play with. And it is different from Lucy, who is still, even after everything she's been through and all the times her morals get her in hot water and damn near fucking executed, she stands by them. Maximus, not so much. He's a lot more fluid when it comes to his morals and what he's going to do to try and make the world a better place, leave it better than he found it. I do like these characters. I just don't think season 2 did enough with them to grow them. I liked what season 1 was setting up, and then season 2 I think dropped the ball a bit. And unfortunately the same is true for House. I think there are moments where they get like the House from the game, but then there's other times where they just make him like cartoonishly evil, like when he just goes to a bar, starts a bar fight, and kills the guys there for some reason for the sake of science. Like, that was just evil for the sake of evil. But then there are other times where, like, Cooper, these are during the flashbacks, like I said, I think these are the best moments of the show when it comes to writing. Cooper's, like, talking to House, and then you get to really see House, the way in which I remember him, and what is objectively a more interesting character. One who isn't, like, fully just, like, some madman, raving lunatic, evil, billionaire guy. He is a bad guy, but a complex character. Like, just as he was in the games, he has a lot of depth, and they show that only in some flashbacks. Like, it seemed like they really wanted to do more with House, but then also felt obligated to make sure this is a bad guy and he does bad things. Watch him kill these guys in a bar fight. That type shit. So that, like, just kind of disappointing with some of the things they did, like, with House. But, as I said, in the flashbacks, that's when the writing is at its best. Like, Coop and Barbara's conversations about, what they're going to do about the end of the world and their daughter, and how that changes their thinking and the way in which they want to approach the problems that they face. I think the flashbacks handle all of that very well. It's just when they get outside of flashbacks, it starts to really fall apart. Anyway, though, I don't think Fallout Season 2 was bad. It was still enjoyable. Like, I did enjoy watching it. It wasn't like a slog, and it didn't frustrate me a ton to the point where I didn't want to watch it or anything like that. I did like it. I just didn't like it nearly as much as I liked Season 1. So anyway, that's really about it. See ya.